Welcome to the Savvy Giving Gal podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Turilli Smith, and today we're talking with Megan Eddings. She's an inventor, an entrepreneur, and a keynote speaker. And today she talks all about how to pivot towards positivity. Our conversation is truly a special one. I hope you enjoy it. Megan, welcome to the podcast.
I mean, what an intro. I mean, I don't say anything after that. I mean, that was incredible. Like, who is that girl? Who is that girl you're talking about? Yeah.
Well, that girl is you. And honestly, what an amazing career you have had and continue to have. And it's exciting because Megan and I went to high school together many years ago in Coventry, Rhode Island. And, you know, when you started doing all of this work, like, I just knew you were in your power because I've watched you as a child and you truly were a beacon of energy and light even back then. So it's exciting to see you carry that through your adulthood. There's so many facets of you, but I wanted to start with your keynote talk entitled Pivot to Positivity.
Yeah.
Can you define positivity from your perspective?
Oh, great question. You know, you're the first person to have ever asked me that question. I would say positivity, you actually kind of touched on it in your introduction. It starts with a mindset. So it's a description of your mindset. So if you have a positive mindset, and not all the time, we're human. Like when people say, like, are you positive all the time? I'm like, hell no. So it starts with your mindset. So positivity is basically getting rid of the negative thoughts, supplementing them with positive thoughts, and then the byproduct of all that is obviously you're a happier person, and then you're more joyful for those around you.
Mm-hmm. You know, I love that kind of shift and focus on the shift in your mindset. But, you know, we all have these trials and tribulations and hardships, and especially with the world today, you know, it's a big part of our world. You know, how do you turn that into positivity? How do you take that pain and those hardships and the things going on in the world and shift your mindset?
I mean, it's funny. I didn't know how I used to do it. I remember I went through two specific things that happened in my life early on that were really, really challenging. And I definitely experienced dark days after it. But I remember kind of coming out the other side and just being positive. And then when I had my company a few years ago, I was asked to give keynote talks around the country about being an entrepreneur. And the number one question everybody would always ask me was not like, oh, how'd you raise money? You know, how'd you find a lab to, you know, work on your science? Like the question everybody would always ask me is, how do you stay so positive? And so it wasn't for like 2 years later that I was literally sitting outside on the couch and I thought, how do I stay so like, what are there things that I do simple? I don't want anything like crazy. And so I put together like 20 positivity boosters. I don't do everyone every day, but they're quick things to kind of get out of your own negative headspace and just, you know, pivot to the positivity, if you will. And I'll give you an example of one. Just one. This is one that I actually used yesterday. Something happened yesterday, and I mentally wanted to slash this person's tires, but of course, that's not very positive. People are like, how do you stay so positive? I'm like, oh, I slash like 10 pairs of tires in my head every day.
Right. I love
boosters,
it.
but it should be. And I started training myself, and I talk about this. And when you're in a funk, even for like a minute or the day, think of three things that you're grateful for. I think that's too grandiose. 3 things specifically, like in the last hour or since you woke up that morning, that bring you joy. And it's amazing when you just think about it. The whole thing takes 5 seconds. It literally kind of gets you out of that little funk, and, you know, maybe I won't slash the remaining 3 tires.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just one example, but there's so many examples of just little tools and tricks you can do, and that's just one of them.
Right. Yeah, I love you sharing those little tools and tricks with the audience because I think that many of us, we want to be positive and we want to make that shift, but we just don't know how to do it, you know? And, you know, what do you say to people who are like, you know, you're always so positive and you feel optimistic all the time, like, or you're too much.
Yeah.
You know, what do you say to them?
Sure. I mean, my personality is not for everybody. Just like
Yeah.
everyone's personality is not for everybody, and that's
Right.
totally okay. That's like 3 years of therapy for me to be able to say that.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I look at
Yeah.
therapists too. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. Because then I think to myself, well, it is for certain people, and maybe if someone says, "Oh, you're too much, you're too positive," or whatever, okay, then turn me off. And or
Hmm.
maybe you'll learn something that you don't use now in your life, you can't use, but shoot, 5 years from now, you might be like, "Oh, that one thing Megan said that sounded really crazy and wild and a little too optimistic for me. Maybe I can incorporate now, that into my life now." So, I'm not for
Right.
everybody at every stage of their life, and it's totally okay.
Yeah, I think that takes maturity to come to that because I think only in my 40s now, I can't believe I'm admitting that in the podcast, but my 40s
Oh,
now have I
you're
kind
not,
of
no
come
matter how
to,
old you are.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, Megan. I appreciate that. Right back at you.
thanks.
Um, but that it's better to focus on the people who do find value in me and my kindness and the things that I'm doing in my life versus focusing on the people who might not really have a taste for me as a person.
Totally. And it might only be a few people. I remember, gosh, like 8 years ago, my husband and I started a fitness charity. I mean, it wasn't even supposed to like make money, like just here in Houston. We find all the
Hmm.
fitness instructors. They teach a fitness class. We raise money for a local charity. We did this like
Oh, I love
many
that.
times. But the first few
Yeah.
times, not many folks signed up. And I remember feeling like defeated. I mean, just like no one's coming. And I remember my husband said something like, well, don't focus on, and I'll never forget. He's like, don't focus on people that aren't there, focus on the people that are
Right.
there. And I've carried
Right.
that now years later into everything. Because really, at the end of the day, we just want to impact one person. I mean, one person's life. More would be great. But if one person
Right.
shows up, then they're giving you the gift of their space. And so you can give the gift of your talents with them.
Yeah, I think that if you focus on one person at a time affecting their lives in a positive way, then that's how change
Yeah.
happens, right? Like I think when we look at it on a grand scale, sometimes it's almost like paralysis analysis by paralysis or paralysis by analysis where you don't end up doing anything. So I love that you just took it, one person at a time and that you looked at it that way. And I love that, you took your knowledge in your business and if you could just explain to the audience what your business was in terms of Accel Lifestyle and use that for good in your community.
Yeah, and who would have ever thunk that being an entrepreneur and now that when I sold my company that I'd now be a public speaker on positivity. It's just the life is cool, but I
Right.
wouldn't have been a positivity public speaker unless I went through Accel Lifestyle. So short story about Accel Lifestyle.
Yeah.
Chemistry is my background. 10th grade, Coventry High. I took a
Yep.
intro to chemistry and I loved it and I happened to be good at it. Have me write one paragraph in English class, I'd probably get an F. Like I can't write a paper to save my life, but have me write a chemistry experiment, I'm like all over
Right.
excited.
Love
So
it.
majored in chemistry, worked at Brown actually in a biochem lab after school, and then realized I'm way too outgoing to be in a lab the rest of my life. So
Yeah.
moved to Houston. I've been here 21 years, selling medical equipment. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Relationships, Q outfits. They give you a car and a computer.
Yep.
I met this guy who's now my husband 10 years later, and his
uh,
workout clothes smelled like you know what. And it was it was just horrible. And like I grew up playing sports. I have two brothers. Like we all know the smell. And I just thought to
right.
myself, I remember I was selling like MRI machines for 2 million, like $2 million or $2.5 million for one MRI machine. And I'm not
Yeah.
comparing like, MRI machines to clothing, but the idea is the same.
Right.
I'm like, I'm selling this for what? And we don't have workout clothes that don't stink. And I'm not going to say I was that confident the moment I had the idea. I had the idea and I
Hmm.
kind of just went to Google and started researching. And I found who knew there were textile scientists. So I found some online,
Right.
reached out to them, and then dot, dot, dot took about 3 years to invent the fabric. And I filed for the patent back in 2018. Sold the company last year to a group out in
Mm.
Australia. But because my entrepreneurial story, actually it's funny, during COVID, someone just like this, someone said, but actually I know you, someone I don't know,
Mm.
a friend of a friend of a friend of 2020, they said, hey, can we interview you? We're interviewing entrepreneurs for a podcast. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I don't know these guys at all. And I think because of the massive amount of stress everybody was under during COVID, like those first few months, They
Yes.
would ask me questions about entrepreneurship, and usually people are pretty, my opinion, soft in their answers. They're not giving you the real skinny. So I start bringing
Yes.
up the shit, like the just the challenges and like things about my story and like how I got to where I am. And I mean it went pretty well. I mean, I got some actually
Mhm.
speaking. My first speaking gig ever was someone said, "Hey, I saw your talk. Can you come be our keynote
Mhm.
speaker at, the first medical conference we have when COVID lifts?" I'm like, yeah." And I was petrified when they uploaded that video because of things that
Yeah.
I had said. Because I mean, we were raised like most people, I'll say, in our generation, is that like the projection of perfection, everything's going great. And it's totally BS. I mean, do I have a very
Totally.
life? 100%. Do I
Yes.
struggle every day with, anxiety, a little bit of sadness or whatever? 100%. Um,
Right.
but I've, learned the tools to tap into it to just kind of keep them moving.
Yeah, and I think that sharing that with the world is what the world needs to hear. I mean, it is funny you brought up how we grew up because really in our childhood, like you kind of had to man up and everyone was really honest, I feel
Yeah.
like. And I mean, there's probably bad things about that as well, like in terms of the sensitivity around mental health and things like
Yeah.
that. But I do think it prepares you for the world because it's not all roses. Like you didn't just go into a lab and poof, like
No.
this fabric came up. Like there were trials through that time and you decided to take the route of positivity when you were doing that, and that's a choice, right? Like that's a choice in our life with the tools that you're sharing in your talk. So what types of tools, when you go and do this pivot to positivity talk, are you sharing with these groups
Sure.
of people?
Yeah, and like so the pivot to positivity, that's the title. But the opening, like the first half of all my talks are different. It is
Okay.
dependent upon who the audience is. For example,
Hmm.
I did a marketing and advertising annual luncheon a few weeks ago, and I love science. The first
Yeah.
half was all about data around branding and marketing and how quickly you can make a first impression, how many thoughts you have
Hmm.
per day. But
Hmm.
it's little things. I mean, once I think also because I'm a science mind, once you realize, just like lifting weights, because you have beautiful muscles, by the way, once you lift
Oh, thank
weights,
you.
you grow and transform and change your muscles. It is the
Hmm.
exact same thing for your brain. As you do these tools and tricks, that I'll give a few of them,
Yeah.
positivity, it actually changes the makeup and the neural pathways in your brain. So the more you're training the positivity, the more positive thoughts you think. Okay, I gave the one. Um,
Hmm.
I would say one of the biggest things people need to analyze, what is their morning routine? When that alarm goes
Mm.
off, and I mean that's been transformative for me. What I used to do is wake up to like, I don't even beep, 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 whatever came with the, standing with the cell phone. I wouldn't even be out
Hmm.
of bed. My mouth guard would still be, lodged in there, and I'd grab my cell phone and go right to work emails. And
Right.
once you get into that, I mean, I'm sure there's so much psychology around it, but once you get into that habit, all of a sudden now you're just enclosed. Even if you have kids or your husband or spouses, like all you're focused on really, even though you're there for your family, but are those work emails, because I'm sure the work emails aren't all, oh, Megan, you're doing an amazing job. Keep it up. So, first thing I say is, what do you wake up to? Choose a song
Right.
that has some significance to you, and that's a beautiful way to wake up. And the
Mm.
second thing, 10 minutes. I'm not saying like go for now, if you want to go for a 20-mile run, that's fantastic. 10
Hmm.
minutes, read something, listen to a mindful meditation. I'm reading The Pursuit of Happiness. It's been taking me
Amazing.
probably 5 months, but I read maybe a page and then I think about it and I think about my own life and like how does that apply.
Hmm.
So your morning
Hmm.
routine is very, very, very important. I mean, to dive in the bed,
Hmm.
and even my brother, for example, he gets up for work at 4 o'clock in the morning. And
Wow.
he has to be in work really early, and he's always stressed. I mean, he's just always stressed, and
Yeah.
so he actually
Yeah.
started doing this for 10 minutes and just listening to a podcast, like the Calm app is what I gave him, and he's like,
Hmm.
I can't believe 10 minutes, and it totally shifts my perspective. And as crap is thrown at you during the day, you're not as quick to respond in a negative way. So that's just one, a couple little things. Another thing, which takes more time, but I think the reward is far supersedes the time it takes, is volunteering.
Yes.
Yeah, volunteering is, I've been doing it since high school.
Hmm.
It is, and people say I don't have time, or I don't really, not that I don't like to help people, but I have so much going on in my own life, and I have kids, and I would say bring the
Hmm.
kids. Like, go to a soup
Right.
kitchen. There's so much need in every city and town, and a beauty. Melissa and I were talking about beforehand how our dis for
Hmm.
social media, but there are some positive things about it. Because everyone's so active, you can find a bazillion different volunteering opportunities in your town
Yes.
and state. And just commit to go once a month. I mean, I always say when you're
Right.
starting something new, even like the morning, don't read for 10 minutes, read for 3 minutes. Like, just everything, make it an
Right.
attainable goal. But volunteering for me, 100% has become one of the most joyous things that I do to keep my positive mindset and just really, really
Hmm.
appreciate life.
Hmm. Well, clearly that last one, I love my morning routine. So, and I think the stillness, as you mentioned, in whatever form, is something that is so valuable in this hectic world. But to go back to the volunteering, I got goosebumps because I really feel so strongly. And like you said, whether you have kids or you don't have kids, involve them, don't involve them, but start a routine of doing that. And it almost takes the focus off of your life, and it just creates this dopamine and this joy. And I I think starting small once a month, but I have really felt like my weekly volunteering has just brought up my life to a whole other level. And I would encourage all the listeners to do that. And like you said, no matter what your job is or how busy you are, there is time for that, and again, you don't have to do it on a big scale. You can do it right in your community with the people. Every community has people who need your help.
Yeah, and one thing, it's an interesting question. I've talked about volunteering quite a bit, just even in my personal life. And something that's interesting, I've gotten the question more than I would have expected. Well, how do I know where to get started? And I'm like, that's
Hmm.
an interesting question. And so what I say is, and for all the listeners, if you like dogs, go pet a dog at a shelter. If you like
Yes.
old people, call the nursing home. Can you go read in the common area? Like, these are all things that I've.
Yeah.
So think about, do you like food? I don't know, a
Right.
soup kitchen. Like, there. So think about something that you already kind of like, children, whatever it is. And then there
Right.
is a volunteering thing, even just, I mean, just chat GPT, Google.
Right.
And that's like the best way to figure out, kind of hone in what you may actually enjoy. But I'm telling you right now, and I know you agree
Yep.
100%, you think you're starting the volunteering to help somebody else or help something else, which you are. Hail no. What you get
Hmm.
back for your own mindset and your own appreciation for our life far supersedes anything you could be doing for them, in my opinion. Yeah, it's an incredible, just journey experience. Yeah, pivotal for
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing that I'll add is find the people in your life who already volunteer and ask them how. Because it is true. I've gotten that even with, because I've been in the nonprofit sector for a long time and people are like, well, I don't know what to do. And it seems so natural for some people, and that's fine. But go to those people who it is more natural for and ask for their help. Like, go with them, a couple of times to wherever they volunteer, and then you'll almost naturally start to understand how to do it on your own. So, I would say that. And then back to the positivity piece, it truly does shift the focus away from some of the more hard things to a more positive, grateful mindset of your own life, because there's always someone out there that has it worse off than you do, and you have the power to help
Yeah,
them.
it
um
it it just, I like the expression, your attitude of gratitude. It just completely
mhm.
enhances your attitude of gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you do describe yourself as a human attractor, which I love. And I would also describe you as that, even from a young child, because I've known you for a very long time. Um, do you think that you were born that way, or do you feel like it's a conscious choice every day to put that energy in the
Yeah.
universe?
I would like to say that I work at it every day and I've studied how to do it. It took me years of college education to figure out how to get people to like me. Um, no, I was born like this. I mean,
Yeah.
but there are, even though I was born with the basic tools, there are certain things that I realized that I wrote an article about it yesterday that I can improve
Mm.
upon to make people feel more welcome in my presence. But I was one of those kids that I remember, and even like in college, people just tell me things. And I don't
Hmm.
mean like women that look like me. I mean like grown ass men that look nothing like me, and they're telling me their deepest, darkest secrets. And I'm like, I just have there's some so I'm sure there's a whole science around it, but there's
Yes.
something
Yeah.
that people feel, which makes me feel really happy,
Yeah.
safe to kind of just be in my presence and tell me things and well, it's always going to be a good time when you're around me too. So I'm sure that's it. But I will say my husband is the complete opposite. He is 100% an introvert. I mean, I couldn't marry someone like myself. And it's
Right.
been really cool over the 10 years. And I'm not training him how to talk to people because he's like, Meg, I don't want to talk to
Right.
anybody. But now I'll
Right.
see him like have these little conversations like at the grocery store or something. And he now
Hmm.
tells me like how good it makes him feel to make someone else smile.
Oh,
And it's on the smallest
yeah.
scale. And it's been really cool to witness that over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And what kind of, I guess, suggestions would you give
Yeah.
introverts to become more comfortable stepping out of that, and to feel the joy of what it's like to kind of have the energy you and I have? Because
Sure,
I mean, we're
sure.
very similar in
And
that way.
I would say, I mean, I guess I'll first start off by saying, because I've never been an introvert, I don't understand that mindset, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
power. I mean, I've done a lot of reading and business leadership of introverts, even though they're quiet,
Hmm.
their skill set is really really unique. But what I would say is like anything in life, like anything, start
Yeah.
small. If you're
Yeah.
at the grocery store and you pass somebody, actually I'll give you an even easier one because I do this all the time.
Mm.
If you're at the gym and you like somebody's sneakers, like I mean we all like, I mean, we all try to look cute at the gym, just like work out better, even just get ourselves to the gym. But, hey, girl, I love your
Totally.
sneakers. I mean, there was a girl at the gym on Monday. Oh, I mean, it's not totally appropriate, but whatever. So
I like
I
it.
walk into my Zumba class, and her T-shirt said "Future MILF," and I'm like, I don't know who you are right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yesterday, she and I met at a class, and she
Yeah.
shares that she just lost
Oh,
200 pounds. So she's on this massive
what?
healthcare or health weight loss journey. And so it made me feel really good that her t-shirt, me just making a compliment, that then I was able to share this a space for her yesterday to share her struggle with weight, but then her success with like losing weight. When she lost it, she got
Hmm.
pregnant and her baby's downstairs right now in daycare
Oh,
while she's working out. So the little compliment, the smallest thing, you just never know how you're going to make that other person feel. But for an introvert, small compliments. Another
right.
one, very, very easy, walking in a hallway. And, a lot of times we as humans, if you're approaching somebody, you kind of put your head down, your body language, just say hi. Just say hi and give a smile. Keep walking. It feels
Hmm.
awkward. It does. But a hi and a smile, I mean, no one's going to punch you in the face. I mean,
Right.
they're going to, I mean, it might even inspire them to do the same thing. So yeah, start small,
Right.
just little compliments or a hello, and then just kind of
Yeah.
build from there.
Yeah. I love those suggestions so much. What do you hope Pivot to Positivity? What kind of message do you hope that that spreads, and where do you hope that that goes in the future?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Another question no one's
Yeah.
ever asked me before. I I mm, I have seen what it has already done for audiences. When I give keynotes at conferences, the funny thing is, like getting up on stage, I kind of black out and I just say a bunch of things, and usually some cuss words and whatever. And thank God I have like a PowerPoint to keep me on track. But the real joy is at the end when I stay there and there's like a breakout. I always want a breakout session right after, like 15, 30 minutes, and people have the space to share. You touched on it earlier. Actually, you didn't touch on it. You said it. I'm only going to speak for Americans because it's where we live. There's
Hmm.
so much stress in our lives and so much of the comparison game. And just feeling like you don't have enough, or you're the only one going through your challenging situation. And
Hmm.
my talk, I hope, and I've experienced, actually does give people not only tools and tricks to live a more positive life, but shows them that I'm human. Because I share, like, my dad
Mhm.
tragically passed away years ago and my roommate in college passed away from cancer, that, I'm not up here like, hoorah, rah. I mean, I've gone through some shit and I've gotten to the other
Mhm.
side and I figured out that our tools that I use. And so I'm glad that I can share those tools. So, in a very short answer, to sum it up,
Mhm.
I just want to bring joy to more people, but not only have them feel good, but give them actual, tangible steps and actions, small ones that they can take
Mhm.
just to live a more positive life and just be happier. Because that's really, at the end of the day, we just all want to be happier.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you've dedicated your life to that because we are all just looking for a little more joy. And, when you have the tools now to share that and how to get to that place and you're not hoarding them, like you're really trying to help all the rest of us, implement these things in our life. Because like volunteering or like giving back, a lot of people don't know how to do it. So to be that, beacon for them to now have the next steps is just is probably very validating for you as well.
It is. And another, I just thought about another
Yeah.
one, positivity hack that I do, or I talk about, and I do when I'm feeling like in the dumps. I call it the magic doorway. And
Ooh.
a lot of times we have like, it depends on the research, 6,000 to 10,000 thoughts every single day the average person has. They're
Mm.
not like conscious, tangible thoughts, more of like subconscious, whatever. And as you can imagine, the majority of them are negative. And so, one
Mhm.
way to make them more positive and kind of supplement those negative ones with positive ones is to think positive thoughts. So, a way to do it is the
Mm.
magic doorway. Whenever you walk through a door, say something nice to yourself. That's it.
Mm.
I mean, and it takes 1 second, if not less than. And it could be something like, I made a good breakfast this morning. Damn, my ass is good in these pants today. Like, my eye
Yeah.
popping. Like, just something, some kind of, because we're always, I'm not gonna say we're all, but the majority of us are guilty of negative self-talk, whether we
Yeah.
realize it or not. But this forces you, every time you walk through a door, just say something
Mhm.
quick, nice to yourself. And what I usually like to say, and if you're having a really tough day, find a lot of damn doors. I mean, I don't know what to tell.
Yeah. There are days where I need to go through many
Just keep
doors,
walking through the
Megan.
same
Like,
one. I
oh,
don't know. Yeah,
yeah, back and
that's
forth and
right.
back and forth. But no, I love that tip too because that is I'll speak for myself. That is a very uncomfortable thing to do is to compliment myself. And I think that we all need to get better at that because if we can't be our own best advocate or own best friend or own like best supporter, like no one else can. Like we need to look inward first and kind of learn to love ourselves, fully. And so I think by practicing that door, going through the doors, it forces you to look at yourself in a better light,
Yeah.
and not just look at all the things you're not doing, but looking at the things that you are doing because I know as an overachiever, like, you're always feeling like you're not doing enough, you're not good enough, you're not a good enough mom, you're not a good enough friend, you're not, and so if we think about all the things that we did well, like yesterday, I was a great friend,
There you go.
like I won't feel like I was a bad friend to the 10 other people that I didn't talk to yesterday, or whatever
Yeah,
it is, or my
exactly.
kids. So,
Exactly.
I think that's a phenomenal thing we should all practice. I'm going to do that now. Oh, today.
I'm actually looking at a door when I was saying that. I'm like,
Okay.
dogs in the backyard. What am I going to tell myself? I don't. I mean, it'd probably be about the podcast. I had a great time with the podcast.
Yes. Well, definitely, because this has been such a joy. So, as our conversation comes to an end, and I don't want it to come to an
I know.
end
I'm like, it's
ever,
already
but
done. Yeah.
no, not yet. So, I always ask my guests these last three
Oh,
questions. So, I'm going to ask you. So, what does it mean to you to be a community change maker?
ooh. What does it mean to me to be? I guess I first got to tell myself I'm a community change maker.
Yes.
And what
Yes. And you
yeah.
are. I mean, I've watched you
Yeah.
change the community
Yeah.
of workout gear and even honestly, like not to take over the question, but I watched what you did during COVID in terms of making masks, going to work right
Yeah.
when no one knew what was happening and making masks and distributing masks. And I mean, you're always a community change maker, but that I felt like
Yeah.
struck a nerve with
Oh,
me in a great way. Like I really respected you before, but in that moment watching you just get to work to help people around you was a huge moment. I don't know if you want to share that and then maybe answer the question.
yeah, I'll that's thank you for those kind words. Yeah, that was a wild time. And actually you would even just saying that so kind of helped me shape my answer to that about community change maker. If there is a problem, I love to not only find a solution, and because I'm outgoing, I like to get the community around it to help, solve that problem. I realize that a lot of people want to help, they just don't know where to
Mhm.
start. And so
Mhm.
the face masks, for example, that, I mentioned that anti-stink, antibacteria fabric that I invented. And I not only was the fabric a really important part, but also it was 100% sourced and made here in the United States. Every thread, every fiber,
Mhm.
every sewer, every piece of packaging. There was no plastic and everything was made USA. And we launched in August of
Mhm.
2019, the apparel company. Well, COVID happens March of 2020. And before
Mhm.
becoming an entrepreneur, I worked in hospitals here in Houston for 14 years.
Mhm.
So one of my advisors, my fashion advisors up in Jersey, she's like, Meg, her sister was a nurse in New York City during COVID, like right the first month. And she said, Meg, the CDC just came out last night and said healthcare workers are running out of face masks. Why don't you take your fabric and turn it into face masks? And
Mhm.
that's just something I just enjoy doing. I'm like, well, let's go. And it was
Mhm.
definitely a wild time. A
Yeah.
lot of my friends either in the restaurant. A lot of my friends like lost their jobs or, were old
Mhm.
or whatever. And a lot of them didn't know each other. And so they would all come to my house. I mean, we would have like 25 people at the house, just pack. I didn't have an office, packing face masks, making them. And so, yeah, we got on contract with the military. The US Navy, I
Mhm.
found out from a friend, ordered 200. This is like bullshit, but US Navy ordered 200,000 face masks in April of
Mhm.
2020 and they bought them, like cut the purchase order.
Mhm.
And the people that were selling the face masks said, "Well, the heck with you. I know we have a contract. I found someone to pay more money." So now
That's
all these
terrible.
men and women that are away from their families being stationed in Hawaii, Virginia, and San Diego didn't have the face masks. And so I talked to the guy and he said, "Can you at least get 50,000 face masks delivered and landed in those three locations in 7 days?" And being an entrepreneur, I said yes. And then I got off the phone,
Yeah.
said a few Hail Marys, drank a bottle. I was
Yeah.
like, so we ended up doing it in 6 days. That
Mhm.
spread like wildfires from the Navy SEALs and the Marines, and they all came running to us for masks. But on top of that, that was more the business aspect, but also, it was a business, but it was for good. But the part that I
Yeah.
really loved was everyone that worked for the team. We would always have we were round the clock working, but I would always take time to have them pack, packs of 50 or 100 and go and drop them off or mail them to whomever. So we donated to, probably 200,000 face masks to like orphanages, high school, hospitals. A girl on my team's a vet, so the vet hospital, the VA hospital, police station. So it was nice that these people are helping, and I'm paying them as a business per se, but they also got to experience the same product and then to gift it to somebody or a group that they really wanted to see experience them as well. So that was my favorite part.
Yeah. And that is what a community change maker does,
Oh, there you go.
right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, so there's your answer, right? Right there. So how has helping others improved your own well-being?
Oh man, how does it help my own well-being? I think let's see, if I had to like say the top just and this is like I've never had this question, but the top three things
Yeah.
that keep my well-being pretty high and great,
Mhm.
um, of things that I do, therapy for sure. I found
Mhm.
a great therapist. I could tell you another podcast, how my last therapist was not so great, but that it
Yeah.
wouldn't be on brand. So I have a great
Right.
therapist. I volunteer a lot.
Mhm.
Um, huh. This is actually something newer in my life. I surround myself with uh, wonderful people that I deem to be wonderful
Mm.
and supportive and loving. That's not what I always used to
Mm.
do. What I used to do is be a massive people pleaser. And what would happen when I was
Mm.
doing that was I was letting these negative Nellies in my life, and that's taking I have a thing called the sphere of influence, and these negative Nellies would come in, and I'd allow them to come in and drain space, and what do they say, live rent free in my brain. But I made a conscious decision a few years ago when I was kind of going through an emotionally tough time about a few things. I'm like, okay, something has to change. And so I just started getting rid of negative Nancy's in my life. So the people I surround myself with, and it's been weird because I've always loved having, I'll say 1,000 friends. But the older I
Yes.
get and the more I experience life, is I'm blessed to have three ride or dies. And so, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I've definitely come
Yeah,
to that. Yeah,
I'm going to go on a tangent on
Woo,
that because I've
Alex.
been talking about that. Yeah. I've been talking about that on the podcast, obviously, along with all the amazing things my guests are doing, because I think that has been such a game changer in my life and for the women that are around me, that you start to close that sphere up and you start to surround yourself with really positive, really loving, really honest. It's not like it's a you're great all the time kind of thing, but it's the greatest value you can add to your life. And I'm just going to use girlfriends
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
mean, I don't have a lot of male
yeah.
friends. It's just my personality. But I'm going to say girlfriends in your life, these people that just hold you tight, lift you up. Like they don't expect you to be positive all the
Oh,
time,
that's right.
you know, and they are there to just make your life have more joy. And so I think you really only understand how important that is as you get older, because we're very similar, you and I
Yeah.
used to have 1,000 acquaintances and I had to make everyone happy and be happy all the time around all of them and have this persona. And it has just been so freeing to now whittle that down to these just phenomenal women that I love so much.
That's right. That's right. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing. Yeah,
So
you and I do have very similar
yeah.
personalities. So it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting to try to please everybody. So that's something I'm
Yeah.
working on now is yeah, not acknowledging when I'm doing something because am I doing something because I'm people pleasing, or am I doing something because I really want to do it? And for years, I mean, if I'm 44, I'd say for 42 and a half years, I never asked myself that question. So now that's something that I'm
Yes.
asking myself more now. And I'll tell you, that has brought a lot more peace and joy to my life.
Yes. Yeah, it's trusting that knowing inside you. I think it's just that voice and trusting that, you are doing what's good for you and that's okay.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
anyway, sorry for the tangent, listeners. And lastly, can you suggest one small act of kindness our listeners can incorporate in their daily lives?
I mean, obviously, like 10 just came in my head, but there's only
Yeah.
one.
Well, you could say two or three,
Yeah,
or
I'll
I
say,
mean, there's
if I only could give one, I would say a small act of kindness would be to tell yourself something kind about yourself. That would be my first one. And then a small one, very easy, is compliment a stranger.
yeah.
Or
Yeah.
someone you
I
know,
think
but
yeah,
but to start with yourself, which is the most challenging and probably the most uncomfortable, is to
right.
start with the kindness towards yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It starts with you because if you feel good and positive and happy and you feel that kindness, I'm sure that this is part of,
Yeah,
what you say to all the people looking for your help is like you'll just naturally exude that out
yes,
to the people
yeah,
around you.
exactly.
So I loved this conversation so much. Can you share with our listeners where they can connect with you?
Sure. It's very simple. Probably email. I mean, I have Instagram, but the easiest way to get a hold of me is just email. It's
Okay.
Megan, Megan, at meganeddings.com. So
Okay.
Megan and then Eddings.com. And people are like, wait, what's the last name again? So my mother-in-law said it's weddings without the W. So
Okay.
Megan at meganeddings.com. You knew me when I was Doucette, so that's in my maiden name.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I wanted to say that like every time I introduced you or said your name, but I was like, oh, it's not that anymore,
no,
you know?
yeah, trust me, I still respond to Dewey, Doucette, like all,
Yeah.
but yeah, Megan at Megan Eddings, and then I'm on LinkedIn a lot because of my other
Okay.
job, but yeah, so I think
Okay.
that's probably
Great.
the easiest, Megan at meganeddings.com.
Okay. I love it. Megan, thank you so much for sharing all these amazing tips and your story and just being such a light for everyone listening.
Oh, well, thank you, Melissa. It's a blast seeing you, catching up. I mean, we
Yes.
haven't spoken like since like in like live, if you will, since I was
Yes.
17. And, we're both basically about
Yeah.
105 right now. So
Yeah, exactly.
2 years ago, but no.
It's been a long time.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for, and I know it's not easy for putting this podcast together with the intention of, bringing joy and love and, light to all of your listeners. Because podcasts are not easy to do, and you have to stay on it, and you have to. It's not easy. It's not easy. It takes a village, and
Yeah.
so thank you for putting in the work and making the sacrifice for the betterment for the world.
Oh, thank you. I love that. I appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
Coming to fill up my cup.
Thank you for listening to the show. I hope it sparks a desire in you to dedicate even a small slice of your life to uplifting others. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow me on Instagram at SavvyGivingGal. You can also visit my website at SavvyGivingGal.com. Let's spread positivity together.